Here are 11 lies you've heard about Airbnb that you need to leave in 2023.
Welcome back, Airbnb family. Of all the lies, let's start with the first one that inspired this video. There was a man giving terrible financial advice on Airbnb on the internet about revenue management and pricing strategy. He said, when your costs go up, so do your prices. A lot of you know the consequence of this because we've seen it with housekeepers across the world. As housekeepers increase their prices, hosts increase their prices as well, and guests, they stopped booking. This industry is no longer new, and this industry does not have 100% participation in cost inflation. There are hosts that clean on their own. There are hosts who have housekeeping teams, and there are hosts that hire a third party. If you hire a third party and they raise their prices, you have to eat that cost to stay competitive because your competitors aren't raising their prices because their costs are not going up. I think this gentleman assumed that this world is much like real estate where everybody's prices go up the same way, taxes and inflation and cost of building supplies, cost of land. But in this world of hospitality, there are many ways to outfox your competition and lead on price and lead on costs. And I just did a video about 10 cheap tricks you can use in your Airbnb to make more money for less. Watch that video after this one. Lie number 2 is that air cover is insurance. My friends, do not be fooled. It is not. First off, there is no premium paid. One of my co-hosting clients misunderstood this. He had a burst pipe in his home that happened between reservations, weather related, and he asked me if Airbnb would cover this. Airbnb will not. Airbnb's air cover is a reimbursement guarantee to give you faith that if a guest causes damage to your home, Airbnb will reimburse you for guest-related damages. It is not an insurance policy because if Airbnb finds out that you've opened up an insurance claim on your home for something guest-related, they won't start their process until your claim is finished. So if a guest starts a fire and you invoke your homeowner's insurance, Airbnb will wait for them to close their policy before they'll come in and pay you for guest damages. If you get paid by your insurance and it gets covered, they're not going to pay you. You can't double dip. And if you want Airbnb to reimburse you faster, you should start that claim first. Only invoke your insurance when Airbnb fails because your insurance policy is where you're paying your premium. That's the one that can go up. Lie number 3, you are seeing on the internet everywhere right now, mostly by shysters, there are people claiming that this industry is passive or even semi-passive. If you are not yet in the Airbnb space, be warned, this is a business. This is not a real estate play. It is not passive. There are people who were hoping to make passive income out of Airbnb post-COVID, and they are exactly the people getting their tails kicked in this industry. Person buys a house, hires a co-host, pays the co-host 25 or 30% to run everything. Co-host keeps all that money, the leftovers go to the homeowner. But in a down market where everybody's costs start to compress, they can't afford that 30% anymore. There's not enough money for the co-host and the owner. Co-hosts are defaulting on payments to their partners. Landlords are defaulting on their payments to their co-hosts. Listings are shutting down. Large co-host companies like Vacasa have reported quarter-over-quarter declines of houses in their portfolio. The only way to make this passive income is the same way that you would make any other operating business passive. Processes, procedures, leadership, succession planning, as Warren Buffett likes to call it. You need to make sure that there are always A players in your business and that when those A players leave, you have new ones to replace them. You need to make sure that the little people in your organization know exactly what to do and the A players are watching them. Even at that point, you could arguably be passive. You should stay involved because one business adage you need to keep in the back of your brain is continue to inspect what you expect. I recently did a video for small business owners on leadership. You should watch that video next. That one's a big one. Lie number 4 is fun. You need money. That's the lie. Now more than ever, there is a way to do Airbnb without any money. Because Airbnb is no longer new and we're on the back end of slow season for many people, and all those passive investors are quitting, we have a unique scenario. Rents are coming down. Year over year, rents are down 2% in Austin. Rents are coming down all over the country. This puts pressure on multifamily buildings to increase their occupancy proactively so they don't end up empty while rents are dropping. This means multifamily buildings and landlords are more likely to say yes to short-term rentals because they just need the rent check. They need to make sure that they're going to get it. And on top of that, people are selling their furniture as private party. So you can go to a multifamily building and tell them that you'll take 5 apartments. In exchange, you want the first 8 weeks of rent for free on the front end. You can then go to these private party hosts and negotiate to pay them payments for their furniture, maybe no money down, but likely $500 or $1,000 down, and make small monthly payments for a year. That is nearly no money to get started. That's great. To do this, you will need to learn both sales and persuasion, something that I happen to have coached for 16 years. There is a link down below for my sales coaching program. Take it. Lie number 5 used to not be a lie. Going multi-channel hurts you on the algorithm. This is a gray area and it has a caveat. Airbnb knows its best listings. It's called an interest algorithm and it tracks people's interest in your listing, which means it looks at your listing like a funnel. And if people click on your listing and like it, Airbnb goes, yes, we need to show this one more. And they know that you're multi-channel, which means if you're one of their better listings, they will push you to get booked before VRBO can get you or before booking.com can get you. So if you're multi-channel, that's not the problem. But if you abandon Airbnb and you make it hard to book with minimum night stays and other things that push you down in the algorithm, that's what's going to keep you from getting bookings. Airbnb cares that your product is good and available. Booking restrictions hurt you in the algo, not the presence of multi-channel. Airbnb used to punish you in the algorithm. They used to be very selfish, but they've realized that VRBO and Marriott Homes and Villas are very well capable of taking the business because customers are not loyal to Airbnb like they hoped they would be. So Airbnb has to be more scrappy with their best bookings. If you want to do good on the algorithm, you need to make sure that your Airbnb is attractive. Reminder, I have a full program on the algorithm called Re-Algorithm if you ever want to learn that. Lie number 6, your listing is what it's always going to be. You've made it and it's done. This is so very wrong. The industry constantly adapts, it constantly changes. You are in control of the quality and look of your listing at all times, and you should always be open-minded to change it. A lot of my newest students came to me in the middle of slow season because they stopped getting bookings. And what I found is they had a very average listing with a very average look. They did just fine in regular season, but slow season came and good listings dropped their prices. Being a price leader and an average listing was no longer effective because good-looking listings dropped their prices to be competitive. People will pay a little bit more for that nicer listing. In 2 scenarios, 1 where competitive listings get added in your neighborhood, and 2 where your listing starts to age and get older, you need to consider changing your listing. You're going to need to refresh it anyway. It will eventually need a new couch, new table, new chairs, new artwork, new paint. Things will need to get replaced anyway. And when you go to replace your stuff, you should take a hard look at how your listings actually performed, and if you think you can do better and have a better design style. A lot of hosts don't have a complete design. They don't understand design best practices. They've put stuff in there and their reviews have carried them as far as it has. But 6 out of 10 travelers look almost exclusively at the photos when they choose an Airbnb listing. So even though your 5-year-old reviews are great for your rating, you're still looking ugly enough that new listings are getting the business. Pick a color scheme, paint the walls, get a new couch, fill up the space, make it lovely, and you'll make more money. Lie number 7 is that claims against Airbnb will get you banned, either too many resolution claims or arbitration. This is not true, especially for arbitration. If you make frivolous resolutions on Airbnb, trying to charge guests for all sorts of stupid stuff, and you lie to Airbnb, yes, you can get banned for fraud, for lying, for misrepresentation. But if you make legitimate claims on Airbnb, Airbnb is making no private notes on your account that you're making claims. They do not track volume. If they tracked volume of claims and cared about it, I would have been banned years ago with over 150 properties, a lot of them small apartments, me charging for broken wine glasses, stained sheets, smoking, pet fees all the time. We have thousands of claims, and I've charged guests over $500,000 in extras in the resolution center. Airbnb would have banned me a long time ago if that's true. But even more importantly, you need to know, if Airbnb doesn't pay you for something from a resolution, or gives a guest a refund without your consent, like COVID, still valid here, and you take Airbnb to arbitration for something to get paid that you're owed, Airbnb now has on public record that you've taken them to arbitration. And then if they make a negative action against you, they have to prove it's not retaliation. The fact that you have an arbitration on your record means they have to walk on eggshells around you because you have cause to claim retaliation against Airbnb. So if anything, you should make a claim proactively just to protect yourself. My good friend and I, Enrico from Traverse Legal, the guy that's known for suing Airbnb for stuff, we did a webinar on this, like a 40-minute little podcast. It is still available on this channel to watch if you want to learn about arbitration. Watch that, it's extremely valuable. Every host needs to know arbitration. Lie number 8 is a lie that you're telling yourself. Set it, and forget it. This is not truly that you honestly believe that you create a listing and it's done, but so many of you get distracted by everything else that you forget to change your listing seasonally. You forget to add amenities. You forget to change your prices both up and down. You forget to charge guests for stuff in the resolution center. You forget to adapt to your market over time. Nothing about this industry is permanent, stable, and always the same. Airbnb changes their algorithm at least twice a year, summer release and winter release, and then minor tweaks in between. They're constantly changing based on initiatives, and if you don't change with it, you're going to suffer. But I do largely mean that your prices need to change way more drastically than you think that they do. This market is volatile. Keep up with it. Lie number 9 might be my most favorite one, that Airbnb is ruining the housing market. I think that the internet is conspiring on this. Hotel industry and lobbyists trying to make people believe that Airbnb is bad. Out of over 140 million housing units, there's less than 1 million on Airbnb, but even with that, many of those Airbnb listings aren't housing units because they're tents, they're tree houses, they're teepees, they're buses, they're RVs, they're bubble domes, they're all sorts of other stuff. Less than 600K of those could be considered to influence the housing market. Where then the data that people are not considering is over 30 million of the 140 million housing units in the USA are owned by big investors, real estate investment trusts, companies like Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock. They control the housing market. By owning all of these properties, keeping some of them intentionally not occupied, squeezing up rents, increasing property prices, they've increased home prices and rents more than all of the other causes combined, aside from one. The federal government printing cash lowers the value of the dollar. And the one best way to hedge against government printing is to buy real estate because they can't make more land. So landlords, small and big, buy these properties and hold on to them, so as the government recklessly prints money, the property value goes up. It's a perfect hedge against diluting the dollar. There are over 50 million of these housing units owned by landlords, and barely over 500,000 relevant housing units on Airbnb. If anything, you could argue that a landlord that chooses to Airbnb makes more cash, so they need less doors to hit their financial goals. I think it's better to be an Airbnb host with 2 Airbnbs as opposed to a landlord with 20 properties. What do you think? Lie number 10 is that guests are bad. This is a half lie, because guests aren't as cool as they used to be. Back in 2014, guests were super nice. They'd sleep on the floor if they had to and not ask for a refund. Guests are no longer as tolerant as they used to be, but they're not bad. Let me remind you that this is a business. The guests are what they are, and we're all competing for the same guests. And the business that does better with the current state of the environment will make more money than its competitors. If you have a problem with today's guests, it will affect your quality of service. It will affect their guest experience. It will affect how you treat them, how you make your house rules, how you handle resolutions and refunds, all sorts of things. If your perspective is that guests are bad, you will have a bad guest experience, and your guests will too. But if you look at this as a variable that everybody has to go through the same way, and you commit to make your business better than everyone else in guest experience, you will make more money and you'll get the best guests because you'll have the best ratings. It will come full circle. Remember that nothing in this industry or any other is given for free. Fight for every dollar, fight for every guest, and keep all the winnings. And lie number 11 is that this is no longer profitable or good. Again, people say guests are bad, Airbnb is bad, Airbnb busts this, Airbnb is collapsing. But the truth is, this industry is not new. There are more competitors. There are more people quitting because there's more properties, there's going to be more churn, which means there's going to be more negative sentiment. The more people that quit, the more people that complain. Guests quit, hosts quit. Over time, there will be more and more people who do that, and then word of mouth carries. Everybody loves a good viral story, and that's why I finally told the story about the gang that attacked my housekeeper in Philadelphia. I finally had a way to tell that story. What matters for you if you're adding Airbnb properties, market research is the most important thing. Find multiple listings that are doing well and mix them together and copy them all. Make sure that you understand that this is a business. Do not do this to try to retire quick. Understand that this is a business. Do this to build and scale a business that you run well and hire good leadership. And then After a year or two, and you have good leaders, take the time away that you want, but you have to earn it. This is a business where you earn your passive income. Let people say bad things. Let them quit. Let them talk other hosts into quitting or not getting started. The less supply, because everybody quits, the more money the rest of us make. In a way, that's a good thing. What we need to make sure we do, though, is not give guests a reason to complain or quit. Because if we have no customers, then we are really in trouble. There is a gentleman who lives in the penthouse unit directly below me. He watched this YouTube channel in 2020. He then grew his business. It's making over $1 million a month. And he learned for free from this YouTube channel. And there are thousands of other success stories of people who use this YouTube channel for free and started their Airbnb businesses. And they're still in business. They are still profitable because they care about their business and they've adapted as Airbnb has changed. Use this channel and it's free content and you will be successful. But again, I've mentioned a whole suite of videos that I think you're going to like. I'll pin them in the comments down below. Watch the next one that most speaks to you. Thank you as always for watching this video all the way to the end. It means the world to me. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.